All right, welcome back to the Are You in the Book podcast. My name is Eric Wilbenaw, the president of the Baseball Blue Book, and today we have a special guest with us, head coach Julio Godinez with Lakeland College in Mattoon, Illinois. Coach, how are you today?
Phenomenal. Thanks for having us on.
Well, I appreciate you being on, and this is a coach that was recommended to me by Coach Addison, and we all know how successful that podcast was, and we're going to try to replicate it on this one. And Addison's an amazing coach, but the guys that he recommends, man, he knows good coaches. So, Coach Godinez, I'm looking forward to talking to you. How would you like to be referred to? Is it Coach Julio, Coach Godinez, just Coach? What would you like?
I have our guys. Like, I always thought that it was tough to say my name at times, and even my junior year when they put our names on the back of the jersey, they spelled it wrong. So I just kind of have our guys call us Coach, or they call me Coach Julio, and I'm fine with that. And there's been debates about it in our department, but Coach Julio is a perfectly fine thing for me.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate that. Hey, I want to encourage everyone before we begin, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to this and watching this on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast with Apple or Spotify, again, you can subscribe or follow us on those channels as well. We've got a lot of great podcasts, and we're excited to bring this one to you. Also, make sure that you download the app, Baseball Blue Book app. You can find it on the Apple store, or you can find it on Google Play. We're excited to have Coach Julio with us today, and Coach is in the book, so I appreciate you joining the Baseball Blue Book app. And we're going to start with kind of an introduction. Tell us about who you are and kind of background, how you got to where you are today.
Well, like you said, I'm Coach Julio Godinez, and I'm the head baseball coach at Lakeland College, which is a NJCAA Division I program located in Mattoon, Illinois. And we compete in Region 24, which I might be biased to this. I think is one of the tougher regions in the Midwest when it comes to JUCO baseball. But a little background: originally from the South Side of Chicago. No, I am not a White Sox fan. I am a Cub fan. For those of you who think it's wild, but had the opportunity to play 4 years of high school baseball at St. Rita, then went to Kishwaukee, which is another junior college up in Illinois next to NIU, and then had the opportunity to go to the promised land of Iowa and Lamoni, Iowa, and play at Graceland University for two coaches who honestly I owe a lot of my career to, because if it was without them, I don't think I'd be doing what I was doing, because I was able to stay on as a GA to finish my degree. After a year of that, the assistant took the job at Lakeland College, Bill Jackson, and he asked me to come with him. And I said, hey, I do want to stay in it, so let's go. And my first ever coaching job was in fall of 2012, making $1,500 a year, pretty much is what it was. And did that for a year and had the opportunity to go over to Eastern Illinois. I kind of did the camp circuit a little bit. They offered me a volunteer spot, and shoot, man, I spent 6 years there under first time Jimmy Schmitz, and then after that Jason Anderson, who played 12 years of pro ball. So getting a chance to learn under him from a pitching standpoint, a recruiting standpoint, kind of led me to this opportunity to go back to Lakeland as the head coach. So now I couldn't be more fortunate to be where I'm at. And sometimes in the coaching circles, being in the right place at the right time is really what matters.
Absolutely. One of the things I learned quite a bit when talking with coaches is it's really who you know, and it's a tight-knit community, and finding that right fit. We talk about that a lot with players, finding the right fit for colleges, but it absolutely rings true for coaches, finding the right fit for colleges. I mean, there's over 1,700 programs, a lot of coaches, a lot of assistant coaches, GAs, as you mentioned. That's how you got your start. But finding those people that can help mentor you through and getting to where you are. So, Coach, let's talk about that. I mean, pretty good career, high school, collegiate play. You talked about the promised land of Iowa. Obviously, we talked before getting on here. I'm from Iowa. Mm-hmm. The promised land is, I think, the best way of putting it. In the summer, baseball in Iowa is just absolutely amazing. Pretty difficult any other time. But Coach, let's talk about your coming up through those range. You did the JUCO, went a 4-year with Graceland. talk about your kind of your philosophy being at a JUCO program. We know it's a 2-year program. A lot of different things are happening with across the collegiate spectrum with baseball. And it started with major leagues with the reduction of different minor league teams and all the things. It's all filtered down, right? I mean, it's affected at every single level, even at the high school level, and what the kids are going to do. Talk a bit about how you've kind of transitioned, how you're going after this 2025 season, and if anything has changed, what you've seen, and the goods and the bads.
Well, man, I'll start this. When I got into Division I baseball as a coach, we had a roster size of 35, right? So what they're talking about going 34 really isn't new to most of us who've been doing this, because you build your team 18, 19 pitchers, and the rest you fill in with hitters, and you do it that way. But when I had the opportunity to come to Lakeland, it was the fall before COVID, so everything was still there. The transfer portal kind of just started around that time, so it wasn't what it was. And really, I hate to say, but the pandemic kind of changed everything in college baseball, probably in college athletics in general, because after my first year here, I was able to bring back 11 sophomores, and that you've never seen, it's been heard of. And then that kind of started the skyrocket of what the roster limits are. And now with this transition, like, let's go back a little bit. COVID at the junior college level, like, we were able to get some of the better high school guys that we weren't able to before at the JUCO level, because they were going D1. And now with this transfer portal and the roster limits, I think we're going to go back to having that opportunity with the lower levels, the D2s, the D3s, the NAIs, even the junior college, having the opportunity to get guys who would be the fringy D1 guys that we would get as a walk-on at Eastern, or even give them 25%. And now those guys are getting, I wouldn't say overlooked or passed up, but now they're waiting on the transfer portal to do that. And I don't know the rulings. I think they're supposed to come out with something today, but if they do make it happen in May, there might be another floodgate open of guys leaving 4 years. And, that makes it, honestly, it just makes us change what we're doing. Like at the JUCO level, like I came in 19 wanting to be really, really aggressive and going after the best possible guys that we can. And to me, the relationship piece is probably the most important thing. And that's a part that through social media and Twitter or X post and PBR and all these other services that is going out through the wayside, because, hey man, I'm just going to offer you money and come here. But like, I value the relationship piece. I value getting to know the players, getting to know what they want to do, getting to know what fits them as far as location and what we're trying to do. But you kind of have to adapt and adjust, and you got to be aggressive in how you attack it. But for the most part, things can contradict what I just said. Like right now, I feel like we can kind of sit back and wait and see what happens, and cast a net and see what we get.
No, it's so true. It's called the pendulum, right? The pendulum swings, and you can't stop it. It goes all the way over to one side, and then it starts swinging, and it's always that kind of that middle area where we all want, but the pendulum's just kind of momentum shifts it. I see that as well, talking with the coaches, this big shift. It's money driven, it's business driven. You kind of lose focus or sight of the relationships and how to build that program that can really gel, can really come together. And my buddies and I talk about college football. I know this is a baseball program, but it's got to be kind of equivalent to what is happening in the baseball as well. But look at all the teams that have 2-3 losses. Is that because the transfer portal is a lot of the guys down below, the second, third guys are now going to other teams because of money? Is it because teams don't have that continuity, that the real bonding of the teams? Are we losing focus of what makes a real team in the collegiate level? And I think you brought up some of those things of the opportunities are greater because of this, but is it really what you want to do as a head coach? So you talked about building that team. when you go and you have all of these more opportunities, right? The transfer portal, the D2, D3, the NAIs, you got all, and then the high school guys that may not be able to make it because of what's changed. How do you stay true to what you want to do and
Well,
keeping, yeah.
that's the tough part because, I mean, going through the ages, it was like you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and all these things that you have to make adjustments to. And the one thing in this business you have to do is you have to stay true to yourself and true to your philosophies, especially when you're talking about building a culture. Like this year's team, I feel like myself and our coaches really spent time to recruit and get to know, and because of that, it's been a different year. Like I was thinking about this over the weekend and how we would talk about this and the recruiting, and like I love this team. I do. And maybe honestly, maybe come March and April, I'm singing a different tune, right? Because it is November, right? But I love this group because this group kind of embodies what we want to do here at Lakeland, and that's we want to be good students, we want to be good people, we want to be good baseball players. Like I have a very unique situation here where our better players, like a majority of the guys who we project to start, are better students. And that's not by accident. That's by us taking time to get to know guys, to see the fit, because at times we fall in love with the sexy and we fall in love with the talent, but sometimes the talent comes with baggage, right? And that's, I think, where some of this is going through the wayside, that we're attacking the 6'6" runner whose numbers are phenomenal through the roof, but like when you go watch him play, his IQ and his feel, like the word feel is something that we try to teach, we try to preach, we try to practice, and there's some people that either have it or you don't, and that's what you're trying to bring, especially at the JUCO level where you do have time to develop that, but it's such a quick turnaround because every year or 2 years you're losing a guy, and we've been fortunate enough here at Lakeland that since I've been here, almost every year we've had a freshman who's ready or talented enough to move on to the next level.
Awesome. I love what you said. You talked about live by the sword, die by the sword. You also said to stay true to yourself. That's tough, right? Right. When the opportunities expand, all of a sudden it that grass is greener. The shiny thing it's more difficult to stay away from those things and stay true to what you're trying to do. And I love what you said. We're spending more time learning and understanding these people. Coach, you talked about the IQ and you said feel. And I love the feel because I hear a lot fit, but that feel and the feel to me, and I'll let you kind of talk about what that means to you, but I hear more of the feel in baseball is more of the baseball IQ, understanding the game. Talk a bit about what you mean by the feel and how can you identify that as a recruiting, when you're recruiting players and as well as the head coach.
Well, when you're recruiting players, like you see guys on the field, you see the way, like I watch them get off the bus. Like I tell our guys, I go, when we go to these JUCO showcase events at the Puma Classic in Indy, I go, you're not wearing taco shoes or Crocs or sandals. No, you're coming off in your turfs that we buy you. You're looking like a baseball player because believe it or not, like these coaches aren't just there to rub shoulders and hang out and network. They're there to get better and they're there to see your intangibles, right? So that feel is like, what are their intangibles? Like how is his 0-0 approach compared to his 1-1 or 0-2 approach? Like how does he take the field after a strikeout? Does he like for a shortstop, for instance, like it's always the hardest because like you see the talent, but do they have feel for the play? Like on a ball in the gap, are they running and are they checking the runner as he's going so they know where they're throwing the baseball? Because it's one thing to be catcher driven and say catcher makes the calls, but as a shortstop, you kind of have to have feel. Like if my shortstop Eddie Letamendi is rounding second base on a ball in the gap, like dude's probably going to score because he's fast. Like as a shortstop, I got to have feel and know, hey, I'm not going to get that guy. I got to keep that runner at second base or off second base type deal. And I mean, just the feel the day to day, like college is such an adjustment from high school. Most of you kids who are in high school are on campus all day. Like the big adjustment is you have 8 a.m. class, you have a 3-hour window. Like, what are you going to do? This is where the word feel and maturity and comes in, to where after your 8 a.m. class, you're going to go lift, do study hall, or you're going to go back and take a nap like some people do. Like, that creates feel. And the more you practice these things, the more you talk about them, the more you learn feel. And now in the recruiting process, you talk about feel. Like, I've talked to some Division I coaches that the first question guys ask is, what's the NLI I'm getting? What's the NLI I'm getting? Or the what is it called? Name, image, and likeness. How much
Yeah.
money am I getting? Like, whoa. Like, listen, man, in life, you have to earn things. Like, I'm interested in you coming to play for my university. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about money later.
Yeah. No, it certainly has changed. And it's back to that pendulum swinging. I think, momentum shifts things. And then what we're really trying to get to is really the reason for collegiate athletics. Right. And talk about being at the JUCO level, the overall kind of what you're trying to accomplish with these players. Obviously, we're looking to win, right? And that's a given. You're a head coach of a baseball program. Your objective is to win these games. You've talked about finding those good players, and that feel. Talk about the type of people and type of players that you are actually looking for, Coach.
So I actually had a conversation with my buddy who's a high school coach up in Chicago this weekend. And the biggest thing that we're looking for is competitors, man. I want guys that aren't scared to compete. I want guys that aren't scared to win, and that's something that at times it's hard to find, because, not knocking on everything going on in college baseball, but, for the most part, everything with X and everything with the showcases, it's about me.
Right.
It's about, hey, man, look how fast I run. Look how fast I throw. Look how much I do this. And that's where, at times us at college coaches are kind of losing the grasp of the high school. And the one thing I loved about my time in high school is I played for the name on my chest. And that's what we look for, is like, we're going to war every day. So it's like, I want to find guys who are there for the people next to them. And I want to find guys who, I know this is cliche, but like, have the mentality of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, that, like, I don't care who you are, I'm better than you, and I'm going to outwork you. And my dad, growing up, my dad had a saying, or this was in college. He'd call me before every game and be like, hey, remember something. To be the best, you have to beat the best. And to be the best, they have to beat you. So it's like that little chip on your shoulder. Like, that's what we're looking for. Guys who might not be overly talented, but guys who will outwork you, guys who will outgrind you, guys who will find any way to beat you. And in our program day to day, we do these little things. Like, we'll play med ball volleyball with a 10-pound med ball. We'll play dodgeball. We'll do relay races that have zero relevance in baseball, just to find out who's the real competitor. So in our program, I want guys that want to win. I want guys that want to be on the field. And yeah, they might be sore. Yeah, they might be hurt, but they don't care. Like, give me the baseball, coach. I'm ready to go. And you want guys that want to do it for Lakers and for you.
I love it. Those are the guys. They're the unique guys that we're looking for. Everybody knows the guys in high school that even the dodgeball game, man, they are overly competitive. They are not going to lose. I love that, Coach. I mean, looking for the competitors in everything. It's tough, right? High school teams and the changes with the elite teams and different things. When you're looking for players, and you've talked a couple about, couple things and where you go and finding these players, where would you suggest parents and players that are watching this, where's the best place to be found? What are you seeing? Because I think every year
you're kind of breaking up.
Oh, am I breaking up? Can you hear me?
A little bit. Ask that question again.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You talked about kind of what type of players that you're looking for. And when we're talking to parents and players that are listening to this podcast, some advice that you might have for them of where do they go? Right, everything's changing every year. It's a little bit different. At one time it was high schools, then it was the showcases, and then it's the travel ball. There's so many different places where these parents and players can go. As a head coach, what is some advice that you have for players wanting to play at the collegiate level?
So the first thing is get stronger. Like really, really understand the weight room, because the college game, the baseball game, period, has changed, and being physical has been something. Like for our guys, like we try to put on size and focus on mobility, focus on yoga, but when it comes to being seen, like here's the thing, I agree with going to the perfect game and the PBR things, because they do such a good job of marketing you, and they got hundreds and thousands of coaches that are able to access those websites. But I also being a guy who was in the system a little bit, like I encourage people, like if you like a school, go to their camps. Everybody puts on camps. Go to their camps. It's a great way for you to know what it is. Like my dream school was University of Miami. You know, I'm a Cuban kid from the South Side of Chicago, but the U was always a dream to me. And I went to one of their camps, and I got very humbled because I don't belong there. You know, and that's one thing. That's one thing too that you get to learn too, because everybody has these aspirations. Oh, I could play at Illinois, or I could do this. Well, let me ask you this, bud. Have you been to a practice? Have you seen one of their games? Have you seen the physicality of what the Big Ten baseball looks like? Like last year, we had a team in our league that had a dude throwing 99. Like, have you seen us? You know, and we still get emails and players throwing 80 mile an hour that say, hey, I'd be a really good starter for you. Like, sorry, guy, like my starters are 87 and 90.
Yeah.
But if you're interested, I definitely recommend sending emails to school, following them on Twitter or X, because now everything is pretty much done there. But first off, get stronger if you want to play college baseball. Get bigger.
That's
follow
awesome.
some of these college teams that you like.
Coach, couldn't say it any better. I've said that over and over and over. I tell people, first thing that you need to do is go find any college team that's local to you. I don't care what level it's at, and just go watch them play, because I think you'll be surprised at the talent that at no matter what level it is that they are. And the other thing is, what are you doing to get stronger? And I appreciate you bringing that up, because I was just at a career day for high school this last week, and it was pretty funny because the people that came into my class or my breakout session were all the baseball players. And I started asking them different questions. And I said, so what are you doing now, right? Off season. You in the work? Were you in the weight room this morning at 6 a.m.? No. I said, well, then how do you think you're going to play in college, right? I mean, these guys that want to play it at the college level are already doing the things that are unique to making that at that level. You got to stand out. So, Coach, I appreciate you sharing that. So let's talk about Lakeland, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but close to civilization. We talked a little bit about this at the beginning of limiting the distractions. Talk about the program and where it's located and why it's a good fit for a lot of people.
Well, first off, when Lakeland was founded back in like the 70s, like baseball was the jam. Like it was in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Coach Gene Creek had this place cooking. I mean, the number of Division I baseball players or baseball players, period, that went on and did great things. Like some notable Hall of Famers, you might know these is Glenn Brummer, Gary Gaetti, who in '98 played with the Cubs, and that's when I got the first taste of him. I got to meet him last year, who owns a facility here an hour away. Like that dude played 20 years in the big leagues. Our pitching coach actually played in the 70s, and after that had a career at BYU, and then 43 years of big league experience as a pitcher, as a pitching coordinator, pitching coach, scout, who's able to be with our guys every day. Like Lakeland, when I took over, my goal was to have people know who Lakeland College is. So every big event, you're going to see one of these ducks, right? You're going to see us roam around. You're going to see us talking to coaches, and the history of the program is phenomenal, but the problem is now it's time to get the success going again. And the last time they went to a World Series was '88, and we're looking to change that. But before we change that, you got to win within the region. And our region and our conference is extremely tough because it's home to teams like Wabash Valley, John A. Logan, Lincoln Trail, Southwestern Illinois, us, Olney, Frontier. Like, it's a very competitive league, and any given day anybody could beat you. But and talking about Lakeland and Lakeland College, I always joke with recruits, and I'm like, man, if whatever you want to study, we offer everything under God's green earth, man. That's the nice thing about the academics here, because at my time at Eastern, we would recruit guys who want to be engineers, and we didn't have that major. Now they do, and we had it here. I'm like, all right, we're going. We're going to recruit every engineer. I don't care if they're 4.0 or what it is. But our location is Mattoon, Illinois, and honestly, we're East Central Illinois is where we're located, and I love our location because any given day I can take a 2-hour trip to Indy, a 2-hour trip to St. Louis, a 3-hour drive to Chicago and go recruit. And that night I can go back and play with my son and hang out with my wife and sleep in my bed. So it's a perfect location where we're able to pull from, Kentucky, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, St. Louis or Missouri. And that's kind of where a majority of our players come from. So I love what I do. I love being at Lakeland because the people at Lakeland make it what it is. Everybody, you talk about kind of being on the outskirts, a little middle of nowhere. But the one thing I'll tell people that really are serious about playing college baseball and serious about the opportunity, my mom told me this growing up: life is what you make of it. So anything you do, you go to Podunk Town, Iowa. Like, if you're going to think it's miserable, guess what? It's going to be miserable.
Yeah.
If you're going to find a reason to be there, you're going to love it. And I'll tell you this, man, I went to school for 3 years in Lamoni, Iowa, where you talk about a small town. That is a small town, but the people in Lamoni, Iowa made it great. Like, I'm hanging out with Amish people, and I love them. They're awesome down there, but at the end of the day, if you find a reason to be there, you're going to love it. And I tell guys this all the time. I go, when you come to Lakeland, you're coming for school and baseball. Those are your two priorities. How you flip those around, baseball and school, that's up to you. But this is what it is, and I'm going to hold you guys to that expectation.
I love it, Coach. The Cuban from South Chicago hanging out with the Amish in Iowa. Yeah, I mean, could you ever imagine how awesome is that?
It's awesome.
That's what it's all about. That's one thing about baseball, man. It brings so many different communities together. I mean, the farm kid from Iowa, the Cuban from South Chicago, Miami. I mean, it's amazing. I absolutely love talking to coaches, and the Midwest, it kind of brings those things together. I love the legacy talk of Lakeland as well. I mean, I'm kind of one for the legacy with the baseball blue book, been around. Same thing, right? It's that legacy opportunity, the great things. Now it's time to really put these things together, and it's all about competition. It's about competing at the level that you're at. So, Coach, man, what a great story! What a great program. Love the opportunity to get to know you a little bit. Again, you can find all of Coach Julio's information in the Baseball Blue Book app. If you're on X, if you're on Instagram, follow us on the Baseball Blue Book. We've got all the coaches on talking with great guys. Coach Julio, I appreciate the time that you spent with us. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you, sir.